Hello, Internet. Thank you once again for joining me to talk all things verticals, dramas. And look, I found another wonderful person to talk to who's very beautiful, very talented Rachel Jackson, who is known professionally as Rachel Beth Jackson, so that we can find out who she is on IMDb. Rachel, this is your moment. Please introduce yourself to the Internet, where you were born, where you grew up, a little bit about your childhood.
Absolutely. Hi, guys. I'm Rachel. I grew up just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and I started acting as a really young kid. I did my first theater production when I was 5, and I fell in love with it. I was like, this is it for me from pretty much the jump. I was like, this is what I'll be doing. And I stayed in theater my whole childhood, professional theater, community theater, all kinds of levels there. And I went to college for theater. I got my BFA in acting. And after I graduated college, my original plan was like, let me move home for like a year, save up some money, and then I'll pick New York or LA. I don't know what I want to do. And then COVID hit a year after I graduated. And so going home for a year turned into going home for 3 years. But then I moved finally to LA about 2 years ago. So I've been out here a little over 2 years. And I happened forever I thought theater was it. Like I thought I was going to be on Broadway. Nothing else was interesting to me, whatever. And then in college, I had a remarkable professor who truly changed my life, and he taught our camera classes. And I, for a long time, had convinced myself that because I've always been in a larger body, there wasn't a place for me in film. Like I had just my whole life had this preconception that I'll just never be in film. It's just not for me. And after taking those camera classes, I was like, I will make sure there's going to be a place for me in film because I love it. I loved the camera work. So I was like, you know what, whether they like it or not, here I'm coming and I'm going to do camera work. So now here I am in LA doing lots of verticals.
I feel, can we give a shout out to the professor? Because it's always
Yes.
amazing people who change your life like that.
Yes. His name is Kevin Hoffman, and he was a professor at Millikan University for a few years. And I still talk to him all the time. We send each other updates, emails, and he's just like one of my favorite people on earth.
I'm just going to go back to theatre. Basically, I guess when you were at high school, I'm presuming you were doing the shows. What was like
Yeah.
a favourite role that you did? What was the one that you were like, that was my moment? I loved.
Honestly, my junior year, I got to play Reno Sweeney in Anything Goes. And that had been like a lifelong dream. And I was like my parents have videos of me in the kitchen, belting out Anything Goes along to the Patti LuPone version when I was 7. And I've just always loved that show. I've always loved Reno as a character. And so when one of the theaters I grew up in announced that was going to be one of our shows, I was like, this is my moment. This is my time. And I got it. And one of my best friends in the world played opposite me, which was really, really fun. So we got to sing You're the Top together. And it was just, it was such a fun time.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that shows obviously you've lit up so much talking about that. So it shows it really was a big deal then when, you were like, actually, I want to be on camera. Okay. So obviously we had COVID and you come to LA. What sort of, well, obviously you come to LA and then there's lots of strikes. So
yes. Yeah. I moved in the middle of the strike. I literally moved in the middle of the SAG strike, writer strike. I was like, I couldn't have picked a better time. Let's go.
What kind of work initially sort of were you finding? Sort of what was available? How does it work?
When I first got here, because there was so many strikes happening, really the only thing was verticals and commercials. So I was getting a lot of auditions for commercials. I shot a couple when I first got out here. And it was kind of like I was seeing the vertical auditions, but I still was not sure what it was. And so I wasn't submitting as much. I would maybe occasionally put in a submission, but I was mostly doing commercials. And then about I don't know, 6 or 7 months after moving here, I booked my first vertical and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but here I go. Let's do it. And everyone on set had done a whole bunch. They were telling me, they were like, girl, once you're in it, you're in it. You're going to be working all the time. They're introducing me to people, whatever. And I just love the vertical community for that reason. So many of the people I've met have led to other jobs, led to other connections. Everyone's so happy to champion each other. So since that moment, which was a little over a year ago, I've been kind of nonstop in verticals, but my first couple of months are mostly in commercials.
So what was the first vertical you did?
First vertical I did was, I think when we were filming it, it was called Mr. Governor's Wife, but I think the title might have changed to Mr. Mayor's Wife. He's an elected official and I was his wife is what it was called.
He was an elected official. I love that. That covers whatever role we ended up giving him. He's an elected official. Hopefully it's all right to dive in. But as we know, verticals are, I don't know how to phrase it, not the most forward, shall we say? Forward
that's
thinking.
a great way to phrase it.
to date, possibly with where, say, Hollywood and the Western world is.
Yes.
And stuff. So something that really is quite shocking to Western viewers
Yeah.
is the storyline, which I know you've been cast in, which
Hmm.
is this kind of XXL wife, plus size, whatever, which to
Yeah.
Western viewers are like, what the heck?
Yeah.
How is it as an actress doing that? Because okay, I feel awful just even saying this, okay?
Yeah.
But this is the reality. Okay, right. Everyone's looking at this and going, right, Rachel is clearly awesome, talented, beautiful, and wonderful. Okay. But often Rachel will be playing a character that then has a transformation or whatever,
Hmm.
and then is then played by a different actress.
Yes. Yeah.
And then that actress is the one who gets revenge or gets the happy ever after, whatever.
Yeah.
Which to a Western audience is like, I'm sorry, basically, dear audience, insert swear words.
Yes.
Because I
Yeah.
think it is that. It is. How is it for you? Because I worry that that's a number on your psyche. Like,
The first one I shot, I had a lot of frustration. I was really struggling with it. Luckily, the actress that played the future version of me, Christine Havens, she's one of my really dear friends at the now, after we've worked together a few times. She was like from the jump so supportive and so like, this sucks and we're going to do it together, which was like so lovely. And that's kind of been the case in all of them that I've shot. The person
mm,
playing the same character as me has been so wonderful and so supportive, and like
mm,
just the acknowledgement that it is a messed up storyline matters and means
mm,
something. But after that first one, I had to kind of take a moment and be like, there are no jobs right now. Like, the repercussions of the strike means that there are so few auditions. There are so little opportunity happening. I have so
mm,
many friends who are incredibly talented, incredibly successful. They're lucky to book a gig a year. And I was like, now that I'm in
mm,
this world, I can be working. I can be using the thing that I spent so much money getting that degree for, that I've spent my whole life working for. And
mm,
at the end of the day, like it's acting. And so I had to have that conversation with myself of like, until there's more jobs available or until verticals catch up with a good storyline, I would like to work, and I would like to work in the field that I've chosen. And so I've just kind of like learned to
yeah,
separate it and be like, it is what it is. And I'm going to show up and I'm going to do my best. And I'm going to play this character as authentically as I can. And, you know, I'm going to cash the check at the end of it. So that's kind of how I
mm.
face that.
Like that, rewrite it for your terms.
Hmm.
Obviously, the other thing as well that is an advantage just of verticals is it does give you on-screen stuff, doesn't
Yes.
it? It means you've
Yeah.
got stuff for a showreel, which is something I've really realised, because maybe you've done a movie, but it hasn't come out for 3 years. So you're
Right.
like, well, do you know what? I'm going to take what I can from this. I've got some
Hmm.
showreel, I've got this, I've got that. I'm building connections.
Yes.
So I love that. Okay, so on sets, what's your favourite moment that you've had or got to do? Favourite?
So fun. I recently got to play a villain for the first time, like a couple months ago. And it was so much fun because, as you know, so many of the like plus size characters are like so mopey and weepy and weak. And like, that's just not who I am at all. So it's always a little bit of a
Mm,
stretch to like make myself small. And like, so getting to
mm,
play a villain and getting to be like, I get to take up the whole screen and I get to like be in control and have the power was so much
yeah,
fun. We did like a couple of scenes where like I got to be the person like doing the stunt instead of receiving the stunt. And like, I was even having a conversation with the stunt coordinator. I was like, I'm always the one being pushed off the cliff. I never get to push someone, you know? And so it was so much fun to get to be
yeah.
that villain role for the first time. So I would say that whole shoot, I was like, maybe I should be playing villains more. I'm having a really good time with this.
What was the most dastardly thing you did as a villain?
Oh my goodness. There was,
How bad were you? Because some of them are
I know.
pretty
I'm trying
awful.
to think. Well, so I was having an affair with my boss's husband, of course. And there's like a full on scene where I'm like beating him with a belt, like for a very long time. And it was
Okay.
wild. Yeah. And we were both like, okay, let's do this. And like we did it. And I was like, it was fun, but it was also very intense. And like, luckily they like closed the set. It was very like chill, but it
Yeah.
was one of the more intense things I've shot for sure.
Did you get given, because obviously we know that these scripts are very brief and short. Did you have any
Yeah.
sort of background to your character of why she was doing the things she's doing? Or are you filling it in yourself of
I
like,
had
right,
to
I'm going to
fill a
make this
lot of
make
it in
sense to me?
myself. It seemed like it's from what the script gave me, it was mostly jealousy of her boss's success. And so I
Mm.
kind of filled that in for myself of being like, maybe she's been her assistant for a long time and she's like, I need to be moving on and I can't like, so I kind of filled that in, but it did come from a place of like her boss was super powerful. And it seemed that there was a lot of like, I want that. And the best way I
Mm.
can see to get that is to take her down kind of thing.
Like it. This is good.
Yeah.
So, just talking sort of generally about roles, have you noticed any change? Because I think there's been two now. I mean, this is how bad it is, but I think there's two
Yeah.
where we've had a positive story where
Hmm.
someone who is a slightly different shaped body doesn't need to change and still gets a
Yeah.
happy ever after, which is wonderful. And I
Yeah.
think there's two now. And some
I think
people are
you're
very
right.
excited. There's one on Drama Box and there's one that Candy Jar did,
Yes.
which is, and particularly the one in Candy Jar is never even, it's not even the story, which is brilliant. It's
No.
much more
Yeah.
about the characters. And what I
It's a
really
great
like
one.
about that character is actually she's not perfect. She's
Hmm.
quite snarky, isn't she? It
Yes.
sounds like you've
Yes.
seen it, and I like
I
that,
have.
but it's not like a saintly, they kind of go off each other. So
Yes.
I'm hoping that gives us hope.
It does. It does. And I would even say in the like transformation ones, like the first one I shot, the feedback from the client was like, the male lead can't show any attraction, any softness to this version of me. It has to be only the second version. And like, and the actor I was working with kept being like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I want to show softness to the Rachel version because like
Mm,
that matters later in the story. And the client was like, no, not at all. The last
mm,
few I've shot, there's been a lot more focus on like the connection existing when she is plus size and his care for her existing. And so, like, it's kind of become where the storyline is more about the transformation is something that she in her head has decided she's needed, not that he has made her feel like she needs. And I think even though it's still a messed up storyline, that does feel like a
mm,
positive step. Whereas, like, it's not the man she ends up with her happy ever after telling her that she's not good enough, that she needs to change,
mm.
whatever, because that's how the first few were. And the second few, there's been like where they have a conversation where he's like, I love you exactly the way you are. Like, I don't think you need to change, things like that. And so like that addition, I think has been, even if it's tiny, a shift in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the thing of like, yeah, we're starting from a terrible base, but we're making progress. And at least the thing
Yes.
of verticals is that everything does move fairly fast. So
Yeah.
hopefully, rather than this being years and years battle, hopefully it's
Right.
just been, maybe two or three, and then suddenly we're in a much better place.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah. Just about life on set then. How intense is a day on a vertical set, just so people understand?
They're long. They're long days. There's a lot of caffeine consumed all day long, and it's fast. Like it goes so fast on like a traditional film set, because a vertical is the same length as a feature, and a
Mm,
feature is going to shoot for 6 months. A vertical is going to max at 9 days. So we're
mm,
squeezing in content at a rate that is like genuinely shocking. Sometimes you're like, wow,
mm,
we did all of those pages today. That's crazy. I was talking to a friend of mine who also does verticals, and he had recently shot a feature and he was like, I showed up and they're like, we're doing 3 pages today. And he was like, this is vacation. Like, this is nothing. And so it's like, verticals are so hard. And I think a lot of people who like maybe aren't as like on the inside of that industry are like, oh, these are so cheesy. They're so silly. Like anybody could do it. And it's like,
mm,
anybody cannot do it. These are hard. They're grueling. You're often doing like either a loaded day of intimacy, which is really intense, or a loaded day of stunts, which is really intense. And there's always going to be both of those things, stunts and intimacy in every vertical. And it's like, they're hard and they're grueling, but I've been really lucky. All the sets I've been on have been really phenomenal people, and the people really make the difference. And just like, as long as you can have fun and laugh together and be like, all right, we're all in this, it is good and it is fun and it feels rewarding. But I have heard, from friends of mine who are like, man, if you're on a set where you're not meshing with the people, or there's like too much of like frustration or whatever, it ruins
mm,
the whole experience. So they're hard, but if you have that right mesh of
yeah.
people, it is still really, really fun.
It's really interesting because you mentioned stunts. Obviously, you mentioned stunts earlier. Could you talk a little
Yes.
bit through the process of, I guess, from when you get the script to actually
Yes.
filming it? How does that work, working with a stunt coordinator?
I love working with stunt coordinators. I think they're so brilliant in what they do, especially for fight scenes, because I box as a hobby. I've been boxing for like 8 years. And so I know how like actual fighting works. And so their ability to translate that to where it reads on camera, and sometimes you're like, this feels so awkward. Then you like watch it back and you're like, oh my God, that looks perfect. Like, I just think they're so brilliant. But usually it's like, you read the script and you're like, okay, like I'm getting pushed off a cliff. I don't know how we're going to do that. Like, let's see what's up. And then the day you shoot it, like your stunt coordinator is always going to come and have like a private conversation with you and, talk to you about what you're comfortable with, talk to you about what all is going to be involved. Are we going to do a green screen? Is there going to be any sort of harness involved? Like, is someone else pushing you or are you falling yourself, like that sort of stuff, and just kind of walk you through all of the things that are going to happen that day. It's all about the communication. It's all about like, I want you to know every single step, A to B to C to D, so that you don't have any questions about what's happening. And so then after you have that conversation with all actors involved, then we get to the location of the stunt. And it's like doing it 20% speed. It's like as slow as possible. This is this step. This is this step. Everybody has their very specific movements. It's like, that you don't push her until she turns 45 degrees this way because that's the safest way to do it, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. And usually those scenes do take the longest because you do have to do it slow several times for the safety. And depending on the stunt, a fight scene can be a little bit faster, but like a big stunt, you want to practice it several times before you do it full speed, because when you do it full speed, you would like it to be like 1 or 2 takes and then you move on. Yeah. Hopefully you're not doing it over and over and over again. So they can be a long process. I shot one earlier this year, which is called Somebody's Revenge. I don't know. I can never remember the titles of these things, but I got pushed off the cliff in that one. And that was like the bulk of our day. Like it was probably like a fourth of our day was just the scene where I got pushed off. And it was a lot of fun. It was with Brian O'Shea. He's who pushed me off the cliff, and I love him, and it was a blast.
Brian, he does so many dastardly things. Honestly.
I love him. And so, and that also made it great. It's like, I have a lot of trust with him. We worked together a few times. And so I was like, yeah, he can push me off the cliff. It's not a big deal, But yeah, it was like a huge chunk of our day. It was like just doing that scene and getting all the angles and like getting it looking perfect.
Yeah. And then what is it like when you watch it back? Because presumably that's quite cool.
It is very cool. It's very, very cool because you're like, because in the moment, it's like, I'm just like wearing, slippers and standing in front of a green screen and like moving around. And then you see it back and you're like, oh, like they really pulled that off. That's awesome. Or like, oh, now I see why we had to get that take of that very specific angle when I was like, haven't we got everything? Like, okay, now I see why we needed that one angle because it did make the difference. And I guess that also speaks like the brilliance of our DPs and our cinematographers of just like, they know what it needs. And you just kind of have to trust them and be like, okay, I know one more take sounds annoying, but I know they're right. So let's do it. So yeah, it's very cool to see it play back.
As you know, kind of verticals have gone a bit crazy the last 6 months, and that it's gone from being kind of hidden away to like so many more are being made and so many more people are talking about it. As someone then who's sort of been making them for a while, what have you noticed, I guess, sort of people around you? Kind of what's your take on it?
I think it's really cool that they seem to be gaining some more legitimacy. I think for a long time, a lot of actors like kind of poo-pooed them, thought they were above them. And in that conversation, whenever someone has that attitude, I'm like, okay, and how many jobs have you booked this year? I'd love to know the number because mine's going to be higher because I don't think I'm better than verticals. But I think that it's coming to a place where a lot of those actors who didn't want to get in on it at first now want in because they know that there's money. They know there's legitimacy. Mm-hmm. They know studios are starting to buy in. And from what I understand is like most of the apps are like, if you don't know how to be on a vertical set, we're not interested in hiring you. You may be super talented, you may be great, but you're late to the game. And we have dozens of actors who know how these sets work, who know what's expected, who know the style of acting. I'm not going to train you to do a vertical when I can hire any of these people. And so a lot of my friends and colleagues that I know who like tried to distance themselves from verticals, they want in the game now and the door's kind of closed. And so like, there's a little bit of like, I was right to that kind of feels good of like, I've always struggled with thinking you're better than any job, right? As an actor, it's like, if it pays the bills, well, take it. You're not better than any opportunity that comes your way. And I think having that mindset is paying off really big right now with how much verticals are popping off. Like I've already had a couple auditions for the partnership with Fox, which has really been cool. And I'm really excited about that. And like it's so cool to see studios, to see SAG, to see these big names interested. And it's like, I think it's going to just keep growing and getting bigger and better.
And I so want that for all of you, because I'm kind of like, you've all been in the trenches. You've turned up and gone, do you know what? These roles are icky, but it's work and I'm going to do it and I'm going to do the darn best job I can.
Yeah.
And, we all know that, scripts are insane. They can be. There's brilliant
Yes.
ones, that's partly why I fall in love with them. But that's
Right.
what I'm really passionate about. That all of you who are the ones who essentially rolled your sleeves up and got stuck in were like, we're going to make the best of this, of what we can, because you've all got, I think that's the common thing you've all got, that it just comes across time and time again in interviews, that you're all like, do you know what? This is work. I'm doing this and I'm not doing the office job. I'm not doing the bar job or whatever.
Yeah.
I just want you all to reap the rewards now. That just feels like, yes, that's exactly what should be happening. That as these names come, that, maybe this is now your route onto, a Fox set, and then maybe that's how you go into horizontals. And I want that for all of you so much. I just think it needs to happen. And I don't know, I don't want to be mean, but I feel slightly glad that you're not, that the door is a little bit shut, because that would break my heart if kind of everyone who'd done all that then sort of got pushed aside by, Leonardo DiCaprio, whoever decided not to.
Right. Exactly.
Whatever.
No, I agree. It's a little bit vindicating of like, okay, yeah, the door is a little bit closed because you were kind of rude about verticals 6 months ago. So no, you can't come in now.
And I think the other bit as well is actually, as you said, it's incredibly skilled. I think that's the key.
Yes.
Have you said, you've just described what a day is like. I mean, that just shows how intense it is. So I think that's the other thing, that people don't underestimate how incredibly skilled you all are of what you do. So, right. 2026 then.
Yeah.
What are your hopes for kind of verticals and also the career of Rachel Beth Jackson?
Oh goodness. 2026. I've already started gathering things for my vision board and all the things. I feel really good about it. I have a digital one that's my lock screen on my iPad, and then I have a physical one that I hang up next to my bathroom mirror. I am very into the vision board of it all. I love a vision board.
So, right, this is where I get it told. Do we cut out magazines? What do we do? How does it work?
I cut out magazines for my physical one. The one that I make for my iPad, I literally just scour Pinterest and take pictures and put it together in a collage. Yeah. My physical one is magazines. There's I buy sometimes little packets of magazine clippings from Etsy. They're $6 and they'll just ship you a bunch of already cut clippings, and I'll dig through those, because when I started really getting into vision boarding, I was I don't think I knew how much a magazine cost. Those things are low-key a little expensive. So I prefer the Etsy clippings because it's a much better bargain, but I will go buy a travel magazine specifically, or things like that. But my vision board is very dear to me. It is very special to me.
And do you find they work? Because I find they do. This is the thing.
I do.
You put it up there, it brings it into your life.
Yes, it's whatever thing I really find myself honing in on that year tends to be the most area of growth for me that year. So my vision board this year was really honed in on film. And it was there were there's a little bit of travel, there's a little bit of this, but the vast majority on both boards was my career. And this has been my biggest year yet. And so it just feels because I'd put all of my energy into that, then I got that return back. So I'm hoping 2026 is the same thing. I was actually journaling this morning because I was right before 2025, I kept saying I feel really good about next year. I don't know what it is. I feel really good about it. And then it was a great year. And so now I'm I feel the same way going into next year, but almost in a more steady way. It's not jittery. I hope it happens. It's I know that I have a place at the table now, and I'm ready for the next thing. Is kind of how I feel going into 2026.
Calm confidence is what we're...
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. And I recently wrote a vertical script myself, and I'm trying to get it produced. Yes, I know. I'm so excited. I would love for it to get produced next year. I'm sending it to some producers I've worked with and trying to it's I'm a big Formula One fan, and so it's a Formula One vertical. I know.
Excuse me.
Yes, I love F1.
Sports. This is very important now, Rachel.
Lewis is my driver. Lewis is my number one. And then I also love George. I also love Lando. So the World Championship was a big day for me.
You mentioned Lando.
Yes, I love Lando. So I wrote a Formula One romance, and I think the feedback I've gotten from the couple of producers who've gotten back to me are we love the script, but it's just a little out of our budget to do a racing one right now. But find the right producer, and someone's going to love this, because it is going to be a bigger investment, obviously. It's going to take a lot more. But I've gotten really good feedback from the producers that have gotten back to me. So fingers are crossed. It's it's a, I wrote it with the intention of playing the lead myself. And so it is a plus size lead, but it's not a transformation. And it's the villain of the story, even in her, she sometimes uses her body as a barb, as an insult. but she has like a scene in private where she's like, it's not about like, she is pretty, whatever. I just don't think she belongs in this world. It's not about her body. It's not about her looks. That's, she just doesn't belong here, in my opinion. It's like the villain has like a monologue like that. And I think that's really important to me in this story of like, people acknowledge that she's in a bigger body. It's not a secret. It's not like pretending it's not true, but it's also really never discussed as like a con or a negative. And so I'm really excited about it. I really hope some producer is like down to pick it up and like take a risk on it, because I think it's a great script. My fingers are crossed on that one. I would love to get that produced next year.
I hope so. And also, I mean, there's no point in writing a script if you don't give yourself the best role in it. I mean, that's the entire point.
Exactly.
Write what you
Yes.
want. I love that so much. Yeah, and as you said, also write how different size roles should be played. Like write it. This is the template, people.
Yes.
Is it okay? So I want to. You can't tell me now. No, I can't ask because we can't give anything away. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited because I love Formula One.
Me too. Me too.
Yes, right. I have to calm down now and ask you other questions. Since we're filming this around Christmas, this will come around at Christmas. I'm going to ask, what does Christmas? First of all, do you celebrate Christmas? I shouldn't just assume.
Yes, I do.
You do. What does it look like in your house? What makes Christmas for you? And can you share one or two like Christmas songs, Christmas movies? Like what sets the mood?
Absolutely. I love Christmas. It's the one time a year I go home. I go home for like 9 whole days. And so I get to just like lounge around my parents' house and not have any responsibilities and just chill out. But I love Christmas movies. I love Christmas music. My favorite Christmas movie is Jim Carrey's The Grinch. I think it is like one of the best movies of all time. I quote it year round. Like it's always part of my lexicon, but I love that movie. And I also, Christmas Eve night, I always watch It's a Wonderful Life and the Barbie Nutcracker movie are the two things I watch on Christmas Eve night. The Barbie Nutcracker movie was my favorite movie as a kid, to the point that like I started collecting nutcrackers, and I get nutcrackers from my parents every year at Christmas. And then other friends have found out, and I started getting I have like 70 nutcrackers at this point. It's a little bit insane, but I always look forward to like what I'm going to get for my nutcracker that year. And not all of them made the move to LA. A lot of them still live at home, but about 20 of them made it out here to live with me. And so around Christmas time, my tiny studio was just like covered in nutcrackers. So I always like watch the Barbie
Nutcracker.
Nutcracker.
In LA as neighbors go.
Boxes of
got a lot of nutcrackers, people.
It was like all my boxes were like books and nutcrackers. Those are the two things I have an obscene amount of.
Oh my goodness, I love that. And also that is the pairing that I think no one would ever suspect. It's Wonderful Life and Barbie Nutcracker.
Yes.
Now, actually, I always watch It's Wonderful Life, but I'm going to watch Barbie Nutcracker as well now.
It's a great movie. I love it. Tim Curry is the villain. Like, I mean, it's incredible.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you've sold it on that as well.
I know.
And then just finally, we touched on this beforehand. Favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show is Gilmore Girls. It's just such a comfort show for me. I grew up watching it, and my best friend is also really into it. Like we watch it all the time. It's like just one of those shows that I finish it, I just restart it. It's like kind of always in the background, and I just love it so much. I love just the coziness, the comfort of it. It's like nothing ever really goes terribly wrong, which is such a nice reprieve. But yeah, I love that show.
I mean, we want to live in Stars Hollow, don't we? I mean, it's just can we all move there?
Yeah. Yes, the dream.
I want the things that I love about Gilmore Girls. I mean, obviously the sort of the leads are great, but actually it's all the side characters and how they develop. So rather than doing the obvious question about, which male lead, whatever, like who are your favorite side characters? Who are the ones you really go to?
I love Kirk. I think Sean Gunn is unbelievably talented. I think he's so good. I watched an interview with him a couple years ago where he talks about like he is so trained. He's such a trained actor. He has a lot of classical acting training, a lot of theater background. Like he is just like one of the most experienced as far as like just technique goes. And even though Kirk is such a silly character, like if you really watch him from like the critical acting lens, you're like, he is so good at what he does. And like he makes you believe all of that absurd, ridiculous stuff. You're like, yeah, of course Kirk would do that. And it's like, it's because Sean Gunn is so good at his job. So I love Kirk. I love Babette. She's just a hoot. Makes me laugh all the time. And Paris is also, I have such a soft spot for Paris as like a type A overachiever, a little bit insane girl. Like Paris is very special to me. And I also, same thing. It's like she brings such an authenticity to a character that could be ridiculous. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
I recognize you and I feel myself in you, even though you're doing ridiculous things and like they seem absurd. You bring something so honest to it, and it makes it like you feel so deeply for her. And I love that about it.
She's got to be one of the best, like, most complex characters written.
Yes. Yes, I
She's
totally agree.
so complex. Because if you, I guess, I mean, I shouldn't compare. If you go to Verticals, obviously the mean girl's always, a certain type. And then you go to
Yes.
Paris, and she's kind of the mean girl, but she's not. And she's intellectual. And it's all about
Mhm.
the academic standing. And yeah, it's awesome. Um, it's been absolutely delightful talking to you. You're an
Yes,
absolute
it has.
superstar.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
really hope that this is just the beginning. And then there's going to be loads more really awesome roles, because I think Verticals are very slowly, but getting a bit better and near where they should be. And yeah, we need lots more Rachel Beth Jackson on our screen, 100%.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.